Blessings, BookTube. Welcome to Nobel Poetry Thursday. I have a wonderful Greek poet for you today. It's taken from a um, volume number of Poetry Magazine from October 1964 that they dedicated to Greek poetry. That included Sepphoris, who I've already done a video for on this channel, as well as Xenopoulos, Takis Xenopoulos, Nikos Gatsos, and today's lucky winner, ELYTIS, ELYTIS, I'm not sure. Um, this poem's the Genesis part of his epic poem, which is Axion Esti, and it was translated by Edmund Keeley and George Savidis. It's interesting that both, and the only two, Nobel laureates in Greek language are both poets. So from Axion Esti, the Genesis. In the beginning, the light, and the first hour, when lips still in clay try out the things of the world. Green blood and bulbs golden in the earth, and the sea, so exquisite in her sleep, spreading unbleached gauze of sky under the carob trees and the great upright palms. There alone I faced the world, wailing loudly. My soul called out for a signalman and herald. I remember seeing them, the three black women, raising their arms towards the east, their backs gilded, and the clouds they were leaving behind slowly fading. To the right, and plants with other shapes. It was the sun, its axis in me, many-rayed, whole. That was calling, and the one I really was, the one of many centuries ago, the one still verdant in the midst of fire, the one still bound to heaven. I could feel coming to bend over my cradle, and his voice, like memory become the present, assumed the voice of the trees, of the waves. Your commandment, he said, is this world, and it is written in your entrails. Read and strive and fight, he said. Each to his own weapons, he said, and he spread his hands like a young novice god, creating pain and joy together. First the seven axes, drawn with force, pried loose from high up in the battlements, fell to earth. As in the great storm at its 0 point, when a bird gives forth its fragrance again. The blood was becoming clean, and the monsters were taking on a human shape, so very just, the incomprehensible. Afterwards, all the winds of my family arrived as well, the boys with puffed out cheeks, and tails green and broad, mermaid-like, and others, old men, familiar, ancient, shell-skinned, bearded, and they parted the cloud in two, and these again into four, and what little remained they blew away, chasing it off to the north. With broad foot and proudly, the great tower tread the waters. The line of the horizon flashed, so visible, so dense and impenetrable. This, the first hymn. 2. And the one I really was, the one of many centuries ago, the one still verdant in the midst of fire, the one not made by hand, drew with his finger the distant lines, sometimes rising sharply to a height, sometimes lower, the curves gentle, one inside the other, land masses that made me feel the smell of earth like understanding. So real it was that the earth followed me faithfully, becoming redder in secret places, and elsewhere full of tiny pine needles, then more nonchalantly, the slopes and the hills, and later, with the hand idle in repose, the valleys and the plains, and again, suddenly, rocks wild and barren, born of forceful impulses. He stopped a moment to muse on things, difficult and lofty. Olympus, Taygetus was born, something that will stand by you even after your death, he said. Then he drew thread through the stones, and brought forth slate from the entrails of the earth, laid broad stepping stones all along the slope. There he placed white marble fountains, mills of wind, tiny pink cupolas, and perforated dovecotes. Virtue with its 4 right angles, and since he thought it beautiful for each to be in another's embrace, the large watering troughs filled with love, the cattle lowered their heads gently, oxen and cows, as though the world held no temptations, as though knives were yet unknown. To endure peace you need strength, he said. And circling about himself with palms open, he sowed iris, crocuses, bluebells, all variety of earthly stars, and cut into one leaf of each as a mark of their origin, their superiority and strength. This world, this small, this great world. 3. But before hearing the wind or music, as I was setting out to find a vista, climbing a boundless red sand dune, erasing history with my heel, I wrestled with my bedsheets. What I was looking for was innocent and tremulous like a vineyard, deep and unscarred like the sky's other face, a drop of soul amidst the clay. Then he spoke, and the sea was born, and I gazed upon it and marveled. In its heart he sowed little worlds in my image and likeness, horses of stone, with manes erect, and tranquil amphorae, and the slanting backs of dolphins, Eos, Sikinos, Seriphos, Milos, each word a winged swallow to bring you spring in the midst of summer, he said. And ample the olive trees to sift the light through their fingers, that it may spread gently over your sleep, and ample the cicadas, where you will feel no more than you feel the pulse inside your wrist, but scarce the water, so that you hold it a god and understand the meaning of its voice, and the tree alone, no flock beneath it, so that you take it for a friend and know its precious name. Sparse the earth beneath your feet, so that you have no room to spread your roots, and keep reaching down in depths, and broad the sky above, so that you read the infinite on your own. This world, this small, this great world. 4. And this world you must see and accept, he said. Look, and my eyes sowed the seed, racing faster than rain, even over 1,000 virgin acres. Sparks taking root in darkness, and sudden jets of water. I was clearing the silence to plant phonemes and the golden shoots of oracles, the spade still in my hand. I saw the great short-legged plants turning their faces, some barking, others sticking out their tongues. There the asparagus, there the kale, there the curling parsley, acanthus and dandelion, liatris and fennel, secret syllables through which I strove to fashion my identity. Good, he said, you know how to read, and you'll come to learn a great deal if you study the insignificant in depth. And the day will come when you take on assistants. Remember, the hand-combatant zephyr, the dark-destroying pomegranate, the flaming, fleet-footed kisses. And his words disappeared as though perfume. Partridge-like, 9 o'clock flushed toward the deep heart of euphony. The houses stood in solidarity, small and square, arches white, and doors the color of bluing. Under the trellised vines, I mused for hours, with the tiniest twittering, with croaking, chirping, distant cooing. There the stork and pelican, there the turtle dove, there the mallard and the owl. And the mite was there too, and what they call the virgin's mare, the shore with my thighs naked to the sun, and two the seas on either side, of a third in between, lemon, lime, and orange trees, and that northwest wind with the high strait confronting it, altering the sky's ozone. Low down on the seafloor of the leaves, the smooth gravel, the tiny ears of the flowers, and the impatient shoots, which are really this world, this small, this great world. 5. Then I came to understand the sea breeze and the long, endless whisper of the trees. I saw the red jugs lined up on the quay, thus closer to the wooden shutter, where I lay sleeping on my side. The north wind crowded louder, and I saw maidens, beautiful and naked and smooth like pebbles, with that touch of black in the delta of the thighs, and that bountiful, luxurious spread of it along the shoulder blades, some erect sounding the conch shells, others spelling out in chalk words strange and enigmatic. Roes essa arimna nous mirotamiti ELYTIS. The small cries of birds and hyacinths, or some other language of July. At the stroke of 11, 5 fathoms deep, perch, sculpin, sea bream, with huge gills and short rudder tails rising higher. I found sponges and starfish and slender, silent anemones, and higher still, at the water's lip, rose barnacles, and half-open clams and coral. Precious names, he said, ancient oaths saved by time and the sure ear of the distant winds. And close to the wood shutter, where I lay sleeping on my side, I pressed the pillow tight against my chest, and my eyes filled with tears. I was in the 6th month of my love, and in my entrails stirred a precious seed. This world, this small, this great world. 6. But first you must see the wilderness and give it your own meaning, he said. The wilderness will precede your heart, and then again the wilderness will follow it. Know this above all. Whatever you salvage under lightning will remain pure eternally. And high above the waves he built villages of rocks. There the foam arrived as dust. I saw a lean goat licking the crevices, its eye askance, its sparse body hard as crystal. I lived through the locusts and the thirst and the rough-jointed fingers from the fixed number of years ordained by the wise, bent over papers and bottomless books, climbing down them on a slender rope night after night. I sought whiteness to the utmost intensity of blackness, hope to the point of tears, joy to the outer limits of despair. The moment arrived for help to be sent, and the task was allotted the rains. Rivulets sang the day long. I ran madly on the slopes. I tore terebinth. My palm gave myrtle freely to the breeze's bite. That's purity, he said. It is the same on the slopes as in your entrails. And he spread his hands like an old, experienced god, creating clay and heaven together. He heated the peaks, barely red, and nailed the grass, green, unnibbled, onto the ravines, mint, lavender, majorum, and the small hoofprints of sheep. Or again elsewhere, falling from the heights, light threads of silver cool hair of a girl I saw and wanted, tangible woman. Purity, he said, is she, and full of craving I caressed the body, kisses teeth to teeth, then one inside the other, storm-tossed, like a cape I trod so deeply that air surged into the caves, like a white sandaled echo, the gar, passing fleetingly below the water's surface. And high above, having the hill for a foot and the sun for a horned head, I saw the great ram climbing the air, and the one I really was, the one of many centuries ago, the one still verdant in the midst of fire, the one still bound to heaven, whispered when I asked, what is good? What is evil? A point, and upon it you find balance and exist. And beyond it, turmoil and darkness, and before it, the roar of angels, a point, and upon it you can progress infinitely. Otherwise, Nothing else exists anymore. And the scales I became, stretching my arms, seeming to balance light and instinct, were this world, this small, this great world. 7. As the hours turned like days, with broad violet leaves on the garden clock, I became the dial. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, June, July, August. I showed a need that now struck me full-faced, like brine, the girls, insects, distant flashings of the rainbow. And all this is the time of innocence, the time of the cub and green shoots, a time long before necessity, he said. And he prodded danger with his finger, and he placed a black eyebrow on the ridge of the cape. From an unknown source he poured out phosphorus. So you may see, he said, within your body, veins of potassium, manganese, and the calcified ancient remnants of love. And then my heart shivered. It was the first creak of wood inside me. The hooting of a night, perhaps approaching, the blood of someone killed, returning to the upper world, far beyond at my soul's edge. I saw, secretly passing by, tall peasant lighthouses on the precipices, close-hauled castles, the polar star, Saint Marina with the devils, and farther still, beyond the waves, on the island gulfed by olive groves. It seemed for a moment that I saw him, he who gave his blood to make me flesh, ascending the thorny path of the saint. Once again, once again, I saw him touch his fingers to the waters of Yera and light the 5 villages, Papados, Plakados, Paliokipos, Skopelos, Mesagros, inheritance and dominion of my clan. But now, he said, your other aspect must rise to the light, and long before my mind saw a sign of fire or sepulchral shape, he turned toward that which no one else could see, and bending with his hands before him, he prepared the great voids on earth and in man's body, the void of death for the coming infant, the void of murder for just judgment, the void of sacrifice for fair retaliation, the void of the soul for responsibility towards others, and the night violet of an ancient moon, sawed through by nostalgia, with the ruins of an abandoned windmill, and the blameless fragrance of excrement, found a place inside me, changed the dimensions of faces, distributed weight in new ways. My hard body was the anchor, dropped among men where there is no other sound but that of dead thuds, wailing and lamentation, crevices on the upturned face, the scion of what non-existent race I might be. I knew only then, as the notion of others, oblique like the edge of a diamond, cut me straight and clean through. I saw into houses clearly, as though they had no walls. Old women went by, oil lamps in their hands, furrows on their foreheads, and on the ceiling, and other young men, moustached, arming their belts, silent, 2 fingers on the hilt. Centuries now. You see, he said, they are the others, and it cannot be they without you, nor can it be you without them. You see, he said, they are the others, and you must face them without fail if you want your image to be indelible and remain what it is. Because many are those who wear the black shirt, and others speak the language of porcupines, and there are the raw eaters and the water brutes, the bread-fearers and the pale-faced and the neo-condors, the herd and multitude at the cross corners of the tetracytes. If you can really bring yourself to face them, he said, your life will shape to a point and you will lead, he said. Each to his own weapons, he said. And the one I really was, the one of many centuries ago, the one still veiled into the midst of fire, the one still bound to heaven, entered into me, became the one I am. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Above the shacks, distant, the first cock crowed. For a second I saw the upright pillars, the metope of powerful beasts, and men bringing knowledge of God. The sun assumed its face, eternal archangel on my right. This I then, and the world so small, so great. Okay, well, my goodness, powerful stuff. Powerful. Uh, I rejoice that there are still a few, who still can recite some, Yeats and T.S. Eliot and a few of the Nobel poets, um, well known in English. But I think we really can profit from the Nobels by learning to recite some of these lines from these equally powerful poets who just happened, through a fate of history, to write in other languages or in other times. Let them not be forgotten.